We're going to have to wait a little longer for Elden Ring and some big Marvel movies. Apple is bringing back the ports. And we spotlight the best stuff we saw at DC FanDome. All that and the latest and everything cool today in the Rundown. Hey, welcome to the Rundown, everybody. My name is Victor Lucas. Thank you so much for joining me in the Electric Playground. Today's episode is brought to you by the Gaming Stadium. They are Canada's leader in online esports tournament facilitation. They've got tournaments happening every single weekend that you don't want to miss out on. You can find out all about them at tgs.gg. All right, today's episode is dedicated to video games. I was thinking this expansion pass would be the thing to finally make me get an NSO subscription, Nintendo Switch Online subscription, but that is just way too much. Pretty disappointed in Nintendo right now. I was talking, of course, about the pricing that's been revealed for the expansion pack, which lets you play Nintendo 64 and Sega Genesis games, as well as gives you access to the Animal Crossing DLC. And got a lot of comments on the last rundown. It took me a little while to pick the dedication, but I think there's been a pretty general consensus that the pricing was a shock. And I don't know if Nintendo has responded to it yet. Probably they're going to do all right, and there are a lot of people that are going to be super excited to be able to play N64 games on their Switch, and they're going to hit that buy button. It was certainly surprising to see the backlash and to hear the many comments out there, including from yours truly, that it feels very incongruous with the deal that they set up with the initial launch of Nintendo Switch Online. But we'll see where this all goes. I did notice that the N64 controllers are already sold out. Maybe they've got another hit on their hands. You never count Nintendo out. All right, you guys, let's get started with the rundown. With their latest video event, Apple has made professional Mac users very happy with a return to form for the brand new MacBook Pro. That was the big reveal in this video. The brand new MacBook Pros are taking advantage of the M1 chip technology. They are dubbing it the M1 Pro chip or the M1 Max chip. And depending on which way you spec out your MacBook Pro, you are going to have a beast of a machine, which was multiple times faster than previous MacBook Pros. And of course, they go head to head with nameless PC contenders out there as well, with incredible CPU performance, machine learning performance, and graphic processing performance as well. So these machines are absolutely tailored for video editors out there, photographers, people that work in the effects industry, and for game developers. They had some experts from across the field talking about the performance of these new machines. And one of the big things that was cool about the reveal is that they've returned to ports. They actually started the sort of grand reveal of the MacBook Pro by focusing on all the ports that they've added back to the side. So you've got an HDMI port, a Thunderbolt port, USB-C ports, a headphone jack, which was pretty cool to see, and MagSafe is back in there as well. They also have upgraded the microphones and the speakers, but most importantly, they finally added a 1080p camera to the MacBook Pro. So it's just going to be an all-around better looking, sounding, and more useful experience that MacBook Pros have kind of moved in the last several years. They've also removed that touch bar, that controversial touch bar that not everybody digs. I actually thought it was pretty cool, but they've focused more on a mechanical physical keyboard. And these are all the things that I always hear MacBook Pro users complaining about. They've got all of that stuff, plus these sweet new M1 chips. I certainly am considering picking one of these things up, but I've become more of an iMac user, and I'm used to having a larger screen on my iMac, so I'm waiting for Apple to announce M1 enabled larger screen iMacs. The ones that they revealed earlier this year are pretty cool, but I just like a slightly larger screen to edit on. But these MacBook Pros look pretty damn cool. They also showed off the AirPods 3, which are going to have spatial audio applied to them. They look a lot closer to what you got out of the AirPods Pro, but they don't offer all of the functionality that the AirPods Pro does. And they also have new colors for the HomePod Minis, which is pretty cool. I'm a fan of those HomePods. They're actually really sweet. So pretty decent showcase. It's not a big surprise. I think everybody was speculating that Apple was going to reveal these new MacBook Pros, but I know a lot of MacBook Pro users out there, like my friends Brian Tong and Renee Ritchie, are going to be over the moon because now they can edit all their stuff on these sweet new MacBook Pros. Are you an Apple user? Are you excited? Did they do a good job with the presentation? Let me know in the comments below. And now we're going to switch over to video games. It looks like we're going to have to wait a little while for Elden Ring. Bandai Namco and the developers at From Software have expressed that they need a little bit more time. They said in a tweet, Elden Ring will release on February 25th, 2022, as the depth and strategic freedom of the game exceeded initial expectations. Thank you for your trust and patience. We look forward to seeing you experience the game in the closed network test in November. And it's signed by the Elden Ring team. Now, this is the game from Software that's being overseen by master game director Hidetaki Miyazaki, who is partnered with George R.R. Martin of Game of Thrones fame. There's a lot of hype and expectations on this. It looks like it's going to be a game that's just filled with beautiful lore and embellishment beyond even the scope of the Souls franchise and the Bloodborne game and, other stuff that From has delivered that has blown our minds. With all of the master narrative scope and scale that George R.R. Martin has, I think we're going to be in for something truly special, and definitely Bandai Namco and From know that all eyes are on this game to deliver on all of our expectations. So a little bit of a wait isn't that big of a deal. There is a network test that's coming up very soon, and actually Elden Ring's team also tweeted some challenges are best overcome with cooperation. Register before November 1st and you may be selected to join the Elden Ring closed network test. And then they've got a link to the URL. So players around the world are going to get a bit of a taste of this game. The game does appear to be leaking, or little bits of story are starting to leak in different areas around the internet. So if you don't want to know anything, you're going to have to put your social media blinders on. Are you hyped for Elden Ring? I am hyped for it. I know it's going to kick my ass, but I can't wait to see what this collaboration brings forth. I hope that it's fantastic, but I can't wait to play this game. It looks awesome. All right, now let's talk about some of the big reveals at DC FanDome this year. DC FanDome was a blast on Saturday. I was checking in throughout the day. I didn't have time to sit down and watch the whole thing, but I have caught up on all of the trailers and announcements and stuff. They had a lot of cool things on display. I dug the zaniness of the Peacemaker trailer, caught that Flash has new golden boots on the Flash TV show, which is cool. I saw that Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu are going to be joining the cast of Shazam! Fury of the New Gods. I can't wait for that movie. It looks really fun. I saw that The Rock can just pulverize and turn people into dust as the Black Adam, which was quite shocking, pun intended. I also saw that there's a new Catwoman animated movie coming out next February called Catwoman Hunted, which looks fantastic. But my 5 favorite things from DC FanDome, and I bet you can guess my number 1. I'm super excited. I'm going to count them down. Let's start with number 5, which would be the Injustice animated movie, which is imminent. It's about to launch. It stars Justin Hartley as Superman and Anson Mount as Batman. Super excited to hear what those two actors bring to their respective roles. I saw that Ed Boon joined Justin Hartley and Jeff Keighley on the couch at DC FanDome talking about this new animated movie. I love the Injustice storylines. I was blown away by the comic series, got completely obsessed with reading them, and loved the plots in the games as well, and really impressed that a video game has translated over into animated form. I'll come back with a review of that one as soon as I see it, and I can't wait to see it. Number 4 for me is also another animated property. It's Batman Caped Crusader that J.J. Abrams, Matt Reeves, the director of the Batman, and Bruce Timm are collaborating on. It is going to be a lot more film noir. It's going to be a lot more in the style of the 30s creation of the Batman character. And one of the things that they referenced was a short that Bruce Timm did in 2014 called Batman Strange Days, which you can check out on YouTube. It's very cool. Batman's got the long pointy ears. It's going to be a little bit more psychologically complex, a little darker. I can't wait for this show. Number 3 for me is Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League. This was a story trailer that Rocksteady Games unveiled. It looks crazy. It looks massive. It looks like it's going to have some of the comedic tones that James Gunn brought to his Suicide Squad film. Lots of kick-ass DC cameos, Superman and Green Arrow and Wonder Woman and Batman. Everybody's going to be in there. And they look like they've all been infected with something, and Amanda Waller sends in the Suicide Squad to go and take them out. There's lots of gratuitous violence and silly stuff. Everybody's making fun of the intellectual complexity of King Shark. I love King Shark, by the way. He's become a real favorite in the DC pantheon. But I love the cast of characters that they've included in there. Of course, Harley Quinn and Deadshot and King Shark and Captain Boomerang. It looks like we're going to be able to play as a bunch, if not all of these different characters, and they're going to encounter some crazy enemies, but also the Justice League as enemies with all of their insane powers as well. Visually, it looks fantastic. It looks like you could watch a series based on this game art, which is amazing. Like, they didn't show us gameplay in the trailer, but the taste they did show, exquisite. It's amazing to see how far Rocksteady has come and how ambitious they are with their new game. Number 2 for me is also another video game. It's Gotham Knights, which is getting closer and closer. I love that there's a big emphasis and a focus on the Court of Owls, which I really enjoyed that plot in the Scott Snyder comic books. They actually brought in Scott Snyder to talk a little bit about the creation of the Court of Owls in comic book form. And I'm digging that we're going to sort of see these other corners of the Bat family. I'm not a huge Red Hood fan. I don't like Batman's allies shooting anybody, but the idea of playing cooperatively with friends and jumping into these comic book infused stories, I think Warner Brothers Games Montreal is going to blow us away with this title. I'm so stoked. It looks like it's got a little bit of everything, you know, like good cooperative action, some detective work, and lots of choice with the different types of characters that you can play as, and then an interweaving with the Batman mythology, even though they insist that Batman is dead, that Bruce Wayne is dead. We'll see about that. All right, and speaking of Bruce Wayne, my number 1, of course, was the trailer for Matt Reeves' The Batman, which is coming out in March of 2022. Can't wait for this film. Robert Pattinson looks like he's going to be a pretty commanding hero, but I honestly was even a little bit more impressed with some of the other casting in there. Jeffrey Wright as Commissioner Gordon is inspired. Andy Serkis as Alfred is perfect for the role. He looks like he has been able to handle himself as Alfred Pennyworth. I also really think that Zoe Kravitz is going to make a fantastic Catwoman, and Paul Dano as the Riddler is electric. Yes, I've been seeing a little bit of dissection of the trailer out there and speculation about all of it. I just love the mood and the tone. It's gothic and it's like pulpy. It feels like it's right out of the 70s and 80s Batman books that I was reading, all of which I love, but it definitely does have the long shadow, no pun intended, that Christopher Nolan put over the Batman franchise. If you didn't know any better that there were lots of behind-the-scenes ingredients that were changed, you would think that this is just a carryover. I think just at first glance that this is a carryover of a lot of the stuff that Christopher Nolan set up, which isn't a bad thing because, Christopher Nolan made some pretty killer Batman movies. But Matt Reeves is a phenomenal filmmaker. I love what he did with Planet of the Apes, and I couldn't be more excited about this. And how about that Colin Farrell as the Penguin? Incredible work. That was a kick-ass trailer. I hope that, all of us as Bat fans sort of see a cinematic telling of this character that we've never seen before. That would be fantastic. All right, just a couple quick other things to tell you about. Strictly Limited Games is putting out a Wild Guns Reloaded Collector's Edition, and Wild Guns was a Super Nintendo shooter from Natsume. It's got a, quite renowned shooter based in the Wild West. It's like a shooting gallery, but it's also a shoot 'em up because there's just bad guys and all kinds of crazy stuff coming at you. Reloaded was a fresh take on that. The Collector's Edition and the physical edition of Wild Guns Reloaded includes both of the games. The Collector's Edition is crazy. It has an extended manual. It's got an acrylic diorama, a soundtrack. There's character cards, a sticker sheet, postcards, a magnet, keychain, and a large reversible poster. But you also get a necklace with an engraved bullet on it, which is pretty damn sweet. There aren't that many copies of the Collector's Edition available for the PlayStation 4 or the Nintendo Switch. This is for a very specific set of fans out there. But Wild Guns is a super cool classic game. They sent me out a code for the game as well, so I definitely will be streaming some Wild Guns Reloaded. And I remember enjoying the hell out of it when I played it originally, so I'm looking forward to diving back in. But that's pretty sweet, right? A collector's edition for a classic Super Nintendo game. And Strictly Limited also remade the cartridge, the original Super Nintendo cartridge, which you can also purchase as well. They're doing some pretty cool work with making these physical editions feel really, really special. So if you're a Wild Guns Reloaded fan, you've probably already pre-ordered this, but you can check it all out on the Strictly Limited webpage. And finally, Disney has done a bunch of shakeups with the movie release calendar, specifically tied around a lot of the Marvel movies. There's been some delays. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is being delayed to May 6th. 2022 is supposed to come out in March. Thor Love and Thunder comes out July 8th, 2022. It was supposed to come out in May. Black Panther Wakanda Forever being delayed to November 11th from July 8th. And Indiana Jones 5, which is nuts. They're delaying it almost a full year. It comes out June 30th, 2023, and I'm wondering if that's because Harrison Ford got hurt there. The Marvels, which is the Captain Marvel sequel, that's being delayed from November 11th, 2022 to February 17th, 2023. And Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, delayed from February 17th, 2023 to July 28th, 2023. It feels like I'm talking about like some science fiction property when I talk about these dates. And there's some untitled Marvel movies that have been moved around as well. But, you know, obviously the pandemic and getting these movies finished and getting all the special effects, and there's just been disruption after disruption and, you know, things changing and moving all over the place. Everything is expected to hit theaters. The success of Shang-Chi and The Legend of the Ten Rings has really emboldened Disney and Marvel to bring all of their movies to theaters. We're not going to have to wait, though, for Disney Plus shows like Hawkeye. That's on track. That's coming out in November. And, of course, we've got The Eternals coming up very soon. And the movie that I'm most hyped for now, Spider-Man No Way Home with Tom Holland. Can't wait for that film. There's been some upheavals, but it's all coming. All the fun stuff is coming. And I'm coming back with a brand new rundown for you very soon. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Thank you for hitting that thumbs up button if you dig this video. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for following our Twitch channel. It's twitch.tv/EPN. And thank you, of course, and especially to all of our EPN members. You guys rock. We'll see you soon. And until then, play forever.